Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes rundown for Transformers: The Last Knight, except for the other knights that are also still around that might not die before the last knight dies. So why is he called The Last Knight? And dagnabbit, is this movie confusing? As per usual, I need to establish my bona fides in relation to this franchise. And I am a frequent, although not die-hard defender of Michael Bay, and occasional defender of the Bayformers. I like more of them than most people like. I enjoyed the first one well enough, really didn't like the second one. 3 and 4 both had their moments for me. I liked 4 so much that I went in and did a fan edit of the moments that I didn't like, because I thought I can make this into something resembling a good movie. Nobody's ever seen that. But that's my level of participation with these Transformers movies. And I gotta say, I was excited going into 5. We're at 5 now, yeah. Transformers 5 had me excited. And not just, I'd read the Rotten Tomatoes reviews at that point, right? Even though they embargoed it, like, way late, and I have little faith that the critics were gonna like it anyway, I had adjusted my expectations. I was ready to enjoy this on a dumb level, okay? So I go to the theater, I get sat down, I have my giant bucket of popcorn, I have my friend Brantley with me, who's also a giant fan of Transformers, and we sit there and we watch it, and it's confusing. Which is okay, alright? Maybe that's fine to a certain point. Yes, we've seen that in the previous Transformers movies before, but the level of chaos and the amount of stuff thrown at the screen was not great. And the other thing that is still very much present from the previous Transformers movies is the manic editing style. I don't understand why they keep putting cocaine in the editor's coffee, because that guy needs to let a shot play every once in a while. It's not the action cutting that you're used to seeing because the action's bad, right? Like we talked about that in the review of Resident Evil 5, another 5 movie, where it's just you're cut because you're cutting around action. It's not that kind of editing. It's just not letting any beats ever land. Somebody says a line and somebody else says a line, somebody else says a line and somebody else says a line, and there's never like a moment for anything to breathe because there's so much in here that's got to get crammed into 2 hours and 30 minutes. At least they managed to cut it down from 3 hours, that you just get lost. I enjoyed the first maybe hour of this. Even with all of these problems that I'm portraying to you guys right now, right? I had fun for a good portion of that first hour. But the movie eventually started to wear me down. And there weren't enough moments going through to make me care about this stuff by the time the ending happened. I would put this on the same level as Transformers 2, in that there's this really long, and in this one it's particularly big scaled from a visual standpoint, battles that you haven't set up enough stuff to really care from a character point of view. It's just sort of, well, here's the big action explosion finale, which I love action and explosions, but I need a little more than just the visual noise to keep my interest. And even with my lowered expectations, that was a huge failure. More specifically, I will say, a giant failure of the movie is the inclusion of the Isabel character, played by Isabella Moner, who does an amazing job, by the way. I thought she was great as the character. The actors in here they're in a Michael Bay movie. It's kind of, they're saying really stupid things, and the fact that they're able to say them with a straight face at all is pretty incredible. She does a great job at it. I was impressed with Isabella Moner. But she doesn't need to be in the movie. Like, her story has no bearing on anything. She shows up at the beginning, and she's there, And she's like, oh, cool and tough, and I'm gonna fight the Transformers, and they took away my family, that's great! And then Mark Wahlberg leaves her for like 2/3 of the movie, and we don't see her, and then she shows up at the end, and she's just on the spaceship with them, assaulting the giant Cybertron planet coming to Earth physically now instead of in teleportals thing for literally no reason. She's just there on the plane because, whoa, she says that line. I don't know. I don't know why I'm here. The scriptwriter did not give me enough motivation just to be here. I'm certainly not going to help anything. I'm not shooting anybody. Which was disappointing because you could just make the movie about her character, I think. Just make the movie about her character surviving in this weird, like, dystopian future that they've set up for the Transformers, where the government is hunting down the Transformers with these giant, like, Ed 209 style robots and TIE Fighter clone type drones, because they don't have any original ideas. But her just like running through the streets, dealing with that, and having some kind of personal story with like a Transformer, just like one Transformer that she's really close to, besides Squeaks. Squeaks is fine. But there's this other Transformer named Canopy, who I'm not familiar enough with the canon to know exactly where he comes from. But she's like, there's an interesting story to her. They just don't show it in the movie, which is a common thing in these movies because every single one of these movies has like a whole other giant story that happens in between it and the previous movie. Here again, we have the Transformers on the run because the government's hunting them down, but not the military. Okay? The military's awesome, guys. But the government-funded enforcers with guns, those guys suck. Okay? We want to make a very clear distinction here because we love the military, all right? Michael Bay loves the military, but the government does fund some people that carry guns, and those guys are bad, all right? But they're not, except for when they're working with the military, yes, sometimes. But the military doesn't want to work with them, you see? You see, because those guys are bad. Because they have guns and the government pays them, but not the military. Speaking of antagonists in this film, and things that don't need to be there, Megatron serves no narrative purpose in this movie. Optimus Prime is your villain, okay? He goes all Nemesis Prime, stealing great ideas from the previous iterations. The version I track with is the Transformers Prime cartoon show where they bring Nemesis Prime in, and it's like it's a clone of Optimus, but still, that's awesome. And he fights himself. But here we have Optimus like actually having his soul corrupted by Quintessa, this magic creator person that he went off to fight. Okay, he goes, like, you remember the end of the previous film, right? Where he goes off and he's like, I'm gonna find my creators and punch them in the mouth! And he finds the creator, and the creator's like, I'm the creator! And he's like, what is going on? And she tells him, I want you to work for me. And he's like, okay. And then she brainwashes him after she slaps him in the face. There's a lot of stuff in this movie. Point being, Megatron, serves no purpose to the plot. They just drop an homage to Suicide Squad. Okay? They're like, oh man, hopefully people won't notice that this is a bad movie. Let's reference a better movie. And they found Suicide Squad to reference. And not to hate on Suicide Squad, but it's not like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Citizen Kane or something. So they drop in this sequence where Megatron is bargaining to get back some Decepticons that apparently have been kept in Decepticon jail, except for the fact that the government shoots the robots when they find them. So how did they get them in Decepticon jail in the first place? Again, there's a whole story that we don't see that I would assume someone could make sense of, but it just feels like random noise here. Megatron is just here to be Megatron. But he doesn't actually, have anything to do with the plot. He's just running around, and at one point he provides foot soldiers for, the main bad guy, Quintessa, and that's it. He does not influence anything in this plot whatsoever. Grimlock, by the way, also basically a useless character, extended cameo, cool early scene at the junkyard. I think he does some fighting later on, but really, he's basically useless. there's like an hour worth of movie in here that's pretty cool, okay? And some of it got cut, all right? You need to make more Bumblebee and Optimus fighting each other, because Nemesis Prime is a cool idea, but we don't go anywhere with that idea. It's just Optimus screaming that I'll kill you, because let me tell you something, guys. If you complain about if you complain about Optimus Prime screaming I'll kill you, Michael Bay will put even more references to that in the next film, okay? He will just amp it up. He does not... It's not that he doesn't care about your criticism. He hates your criticism. He thinks your criticism's stupid. He thinks these movies are stupid. He wants to quit, but he likes money. And they keep offering him more and more truckloads of money. Another sigh. The other element that I really enjoyed, and it's got the stupid over-the-top Michael Bay humor, but I loved Cogsman. Cogsman's the best. He's the butler robot English dude that's hanging out with Anthony Hopkins. Why is there a robot that doesn't transform but is sentient, but came from, like, we don't establish where he came from and what his deal is, and who cares? He's just Cogsman, guys. Cogsman is life. Cogsman is love. And Cogsman can play the organ. He does an amazing bit at one point where he... like, Anthony Hopkins is describing something, right? He's describing what's going on with the secret history of Transformers. You want to know, don't you? Anthony Hopkins leans so far into this role. It's great. He's amazing as well. And like the music swells in the stereotypical like, ah! And it's Cogsman like playing at one point playing the pipe organ. And they look up at him and he's like, what? I was adding drama to the scene. It's that kind of humor, and he just sells it so perfectly. Him and Anthony Hopkins have great chemistry together. Anthony Hopkins goes 100% full weird in this, and that part I love to bits. Honestly, seeing Cogsman and Anthony Hopkins together was probably worth the price of admission. The other stuff is not so great. Mark Wahlberg is just doing okay. He gets a new love interest. Turns out he hasn't, like, had sex since his wife died, and that actually is a plot point, that he's chaste. But he gets a booty call. Who's a professor who's super hot and sexy, and I'm not really going to complain about that, guys. I'm not going to lie. I kind of appreciated that on a, disgusting base level. So that's Transformers 5. That's some of the problems with Transformers 5, presented just off the top of my head. It was not one of the good ones, guys, in my opinion. I know that there are those out there who'll be like, it wasn't made for the critics, can't you just go and shut your brain off? And the problem is, yes, by the end of the movie, I had shut my brain off. I prefer not to do that, you understand? I prefer my brain to be laughing and giggling and kind of enjoying itself instead of just sort of half falling asleep in the theater. That's a negative outcome when I'm going to a Transformers movie. And that's what happened. They're probably going to make another one. I'm not against that. I am against Michael Bay doing it, and I'm not against Michael Bay making more movies. I just want him not to make more Transformers movies. Please, 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 somebody else show us what some other vision of Transformers is. All right? Anybody. I'll make... whoever. All right? Get the Asylum to do one. I know they already did their Transmorphers one, but just like make like an hour-long Asylum Transmorphers 3 or something. Please. This isn't cutting it for me anymore. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I'm Albert. Those are my thoughts on Transformers. Y'all have a great week. Take care.